Flip Fam, welcome back. I am so glad to have each and every one of you here with us today. I wanted to first really take the time to thank each and every one of you guys for being here with us, for subscribing, for watching us every week. I am so grateful and thankful that you guys are all here for us and supporting us on this journey. When I'm recording this right now live, we are at 191 for subscribers, and we are really trying to get that. Next goal of ours was 500 subscribers, so we are like really pushing to get there as soon as possible. So with that being said, thank you, hello, welcome. Right now she's playing with the door. She's opening it to say hi and closing it. She's such a little stinker. Anyways, secondly on my to-do list for this evening, I wanted to share with you guys our Instagram page. If you haven't already followed us, we are on Instagram. We are The Flip Fan at Instagram. And I post there every day religiously, and my stories sometimes might annoy you, but we're constantly sharing what we're doing, some new products that we're using. What are you doing?
I stopped.
Hold on.
Oh no,
So, backstory to that baby gate, we have a dog that likes to get into everything, it seems like. So I need to back that up even more. We have 2 kids and a dog that like to get into everything. So in areas where we have technology and things that they cannot touch, I baby gate them out. So with that being said, if you're not already, follow us on Instagram. We are pretty active on Instagram. I say we, it's definitely me. I am very active on my Instagram. But just keeping you guys in the loop, showing you what we're doing, what we're up to, what we're liking, what we're not liking. That's just kind of my main platform for communication at the moment, especially with comments being disabled on, it seems like, all my videos again. There was like a brief couple videos that the comments were able to come back on, and now we're back on the no one can comment. So that's a bummer. But nonetheless, I share with my Instagram when I post the video, and if you guys want to interact with me on there, let me know what you thought about the video, let me know what you didn't like about the video. If there was anything, share it on there, and we'll keep the comments alive somewhere so that we can keep interacting with each other. So now that I've rambled on and on and on, tonight's video is going to be about how we chose and came up with the decision to take our girls out of public school and put them into private school. I thought like really long and hard about this video, and it was a really sensitive subject just because it, well, we'll get into that, but it was a really hard topic that I wasn't really wanting to share. But when I kind of brought myself to reality, I kind of came to the realization of how helpful it might be to some of you out there that are struggling with kids with special needs, or even kids that don't have special needs, but just not getting what you want, need, and deserve in public school. So that's where we were at last year. Out of school, the last day of school last year was Olivia's last day of school. Skylar's last day was a week before school even got out last year, and we'll get into that in a minute. I really want to have RC here with me for the bulk of the conversation, because we have 2 very different experiences, and then 2 very similar experiences with this whole process. Granted, we were going through it together, but as anyone, we both look at things a lot differently, and he is definitely the more like realist of the relationship. I'm not. So yeah, so we're gonna dive into that, but we did make this huge decision last year. It had been something that was about 1.5 years to 2 years in the making. It took about 6 months on a waiting list, if I'm accurate with time frames. It was about 6 months we were on the waiting list. As it stands, I think there's like 80 to 100 kids on the waiting list currently for the 2019-2020 school year. But again, rambling on, it was a huge decision, and I can't wait to share that with you guys. So grab a bag of popcorn, grab some wine, grab a beer, dads, moms, whatever you like. This is gonna be a good one. Alright guys, the gang is here, minus the kids. They are off in bed. So we'll.
So if you made it through that whole intro, good job.
What are you saying?
I'm saying that intro lasted forever.
We're in what?
Look at ESA class.
What I'm not sure it would be technically called this. It was basically like early intervention for kids that were struggling. They were behind with like fine motor skills, gross motor skills, social skills, and any like small behavioral issues at this point. So they capture those kids at age 3 and they let them into the public school. So they do 2 years of pre-K. They do age 3, age 4, and pre-K, and then they get off to kindergarten for age 5. So we started our first year for both girls at age 3, and it was relatively successful for Olivia, I think. She was a lot easier going of a kid than Skylar. Skylar presented with not just academic delays, but socially she wasn't speaking at all when she started. She was not potty trained up until just 6 months ago. In public school, it was going okay until they had like a switch of like administration really at the first school that we were at. The principal and the assistant principal were very supportive those first couple years that we were there, and then everything kind of switched. Olive started kindergarten, Skylar was in her 2nd year of preschool, and those teachers could not get the support that they needed to save their lives. So the administrative system switched. We went to an IEP meeting relatively right before school got out that year. And the IEP meeting, if you're not familiar with, is individualized education planning, right? Yes. So they set goals, parents agree to goals, you kind of discuss therapies, how long, what they think, what you think. But the gist of all of an IEP meeting is they're just telling you what they're going to do. If you have anything to say outside of what they're recommending, it really doesn't matter.
No.
We sat through countless IEP meetings with both girls. They were like, I would say twice a year, where we would express concerns, we would express what we thought would be best for the girls, and they would basically be like, okay, yeah, no, we're not doing that.
And really where it became a problem was when, of course, we, want to hold the school accountable to certain criteria or goals. We'd sit at one IEP meeting and it would say that, by X time we would like Olivia or Skylar to have met said goal. And then we would get to that next IEP meeting, and of course we had not met the goal. Or better yet, they would turn around and say, oh yes, Skylar or Olivia are doing much better, and
take services away.
Yeah, want to take services away that were usually offered to them during the school day, and instead we would be like, wait a second, excuse me, so you're saying that they're meeting all of these goals, but yet our child cannot color something without having physical hand over hand. Like, you could not have them accomplish a task without having to put your hand over top of their hand and do it for them. So how is it that they are excelling or exceeding expectation when simple tasks like that cannot even be accomplished? And that's, I think, really when we kind of both looked at each other and went, oh my gosh, we've been through enough of these meetings, enough of these goals. None of the goals have been, and yet they're still keep progressing them on to bigger and better goals. Each time there's more goals, bigger, better goals. And we're like, we haven't even hit the goals or accomplished the goals from the first meeting. And here they are just pushing them along, just pushing her right into kindergarten, right into first grade. And that's when we went, okay, this is not happening. They were taking services away and everything else that she really needed to be able to flourish.
They were both of them.
Yeah.
She. We got to the end of the year at their first school, and we just were very unhappy. None of the teachers that we did enjoy, because it was really just the teachers that were keeping us there, the principal and the administrative system at that particular school. I can't eye roll enough. They just were very. We decided that we would take them out of that school and we would try a different public school that was not too far away from that school. So started off not really great.
No, the tough part was, so the first school that they were in, although the administrator wasn't really, giving much support, but one of the good things though, it just happened to be the way that school was run. The kids did accept our children very well, though.
Yeah, it was a very
inclusive,
I guess.
It at least was not a shock to us of like having other kids around, because kids can be mean. Regardless of the age, kids can be mean, and it's tough, especially with girls. Given their circumstances. It's things that are kind of obvious, and so because of that, kids are curious, kids are mean, they're whatever. The school did a very, very good job of just keeping the kids in line. So the next school year, unfortunately, not only was the teachers, the staff, not very good at that, but also the kids as well. And so there was one instance in particular that I think we kind of, I didn't like that teacher very much. Remember Mr.
Ellis.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the teacher, the teachers at the second school, I truly don't really have anything
Nothing
nice to say about either of them. Liv's first teacher, because she
wasn't too bad. Yeah, the one that moved away.
Huh?
One that
Yeah.
moved away, right?
The first teacher that Olivia had at that school, she was great. She was really sweet, and like Olivia needed that kind of personality. She doesn't thrive with like an aggressive approach. She doesn't thrive with like a lot of commotion going on. She really thrives with like that laid back, relaxed type of person. And she had that, and then that teacher moved away probably like a month into school. So they had a couple subs, and then they hired on a teacher, and he was horrible. There's truly just nothing nice that I can say about him. He expected way more out of Olivia than she would even be able to give at this point. I mean, she was in first grade, and he was sending her home homework that was like multiplication.
Yeah.
Division, like reading sentences, and at this point Olivia she didn't really have sight words down, so sending her homework that was like read this sentence and then tell me what it was about was just so far over her head that even like me,
and we didn't think it was real. Like, so we would do some things with her, when she got home, kind of like homework, but we wouldn't fill out everything for her.
yeah, it's not.
We didn't think that was very productive.
We're not the type of parents that I'm sure there are parents out there, and bless you if that's what you want to do, but I am not doing my kids' work, whether she's behind or like excelling.
Yeah,
like,
we'll help her.
Her work is her work. I will help her, but I'm not doing it for her. Like, she's not going to learn anything if I'm the one that's reading the sentence and coming up with a conclusion.
He was sending home multiplication, and we were talking about a kid that could not even count 1 to 10. So it's like, how are you going to multiply if you can't count 1 to 10? She just wasn't to that level yet. And so we weren't filling out the homework, because if she couldn't do it, what's the point? And so I don't know, I think what went on like a week, something like that. And he sent us home,
and we got like a
nasty letter, basically telling us that we needed to, have her homework assignments completed and sent back to class. And so we politely responded back, we review these things and we try to go over them, but she's not capable of completing them, so that's where we're at. And he responded back, I don't send home anything that she can't do herself here in class.
We just laughed.
So I couldn't help but to say, well, excuse me, if you can get her to do this type of work in class, then I don't know why you're working for the school system, because I'll pay you huge amounts of money and you can just come personally teach them and only them, because you're going to make them a genius with your capabilities.
So we fought back and forth, and there was a certain degree of which we didn't want to push over the line, because he was still going to have to take care of our daughter every day in class.
Yeah, I didn't have to knock him out.
So we just bit our tongues, but got through that year with her. And we had started exploring, as soon as I started that school year, we had started exploring different options, because we kind of got the idea and the acceptance at that point that
Private school.
the public school system was simply there to push a child along and not really help them understand what they need to get to the next step. And that was not going to be the progress that we wanted to see with our kids. I don't need you learning multiplication if you can't add. I don't need you adding if you can't even, go to the bathroom on your own. So in our situation, life skills, like learning how to hold a pencil before you're doing multiplication, is also equally important, and they didn't really have those skills. So we started looking into the private school and got shock and awe with costs, waiting lists, things that we didn't even really know were things.
Well, and that's something probably to mention too for parents that don't have kids with special needs, might not even kind of understand, but so them going to school isn't just about reading, adding, subtracting, algebra, science, things like that. That's kind of something that...
Alright guys, I want to first apologize. I literally have no clue what happened to a good majority of what we were filming. We were talking and it let me know that the battery was dead, so I switched that out. Then we were talking some more and it said that the memory card was full, so I switched that out. And I have everything that I switched out onto the new card, and I have everything that I had on my old card, but I'm missing that chunk, and I think that there's a ghost inside of my Canon, and I don't know what that little ghost did with that footage. So I hate that RC can't be here to film this part with me, but I want to get this out to you guys. So where we left off, we had kind of talked about where Olivia had stood in school and our breaking point with her teachers and the administrative, and we were just about to dive into the biggest problem that we had with Skylar and Skylar's teacher. And her teacher and I just never really seemed to have a common understanding of what I wanted to happen with Skylar while she was at school, and I think for that we just never aligned on the same path, and maybe that was our issue. But we got to a parent-teacher conference meeting that was right before school let out. I would say it was probably about that, well, I guess that last semester of school. And she just expressed to me basically in a quick book version that Skylar was a handful. Duh, I already knew this. Everyone that meets Skylar knows this. That, in walking in the line at school, that she was a big flight risk, because if they had her in the back, she would, trail off onto different things. Again, duh, don't put the kid in the back of a line. She was just kind of telling me all this stuff that I was just lady, seriously, I didn't just meet Skylar, I birthed her. So we didn't agree on really anything. It just seemed like Skylar was at a daycare that I didn't have to pay for because it was public school. So it was really frustrating, really upsetting. At the time, our options were so limited because we only had that month and a half left of school. While we're sitting on waiting lists, while we're trying to figure out what we're trying to do as our next move, we just get bombarded with crap. So she basically tells me, and this was the first time that we had ever agreed on something, and she told me that she just really was concerned and really wanted Skylar to have a one-on-one aide, because in her next chapter of life, Skylar would be going to a classroom that was a little bit bigger, still in a secluded ESE class, but it would still be a little bit bigger, more kids, and that she truly thought it would be in her best interest if she had someone there one-on-one. Now, it kind of was enlightening because I thought that maybe finally I was on the same page with her teacher. Like, we were both seeing the same thing, because she was telling me so much stuff about Skylar that I'm just like, either duh, I already know this, or like, who, like, what are you even describing, was really the gist of a lot of stuff. And I think that a lot of the describing was just her telling me stuff to glorify goals that she had wrote for Skylar that Skylar wasn't achieving. So she would tell me that she's doing these things, but like when I'd get Skylar home and it'd be like, show me or tell me or do this, and it would just be like, that couldn't have been the same kid we were talking about. I walked away from that parent-teacher confidence. I did walk away from that parent-teacher conference with a lot of confidence, because I was like, finally. So she had directed me, she told me, you know, go to your pediatrician, get a script, get Skylar evaluated, get her tested, see what we can do and where we can go. This is gonna open up a door for not only in the school system, she basically had told me that the school system was like in the bag, we're good, but that in like therapies outside of school, that this would really help open some doors. Perfect. I am all about getting services that are needed. I'm all about people that are there to help you. I'm like, finally. So I did my due diligence. I ran around to all these appointments. I spent hours and hours of time, spent so much money on this. Got her tested, got a diagnosis, got it wrote on a, you know, script that one-on-one, and now that I can say that, that a one-on-one aid would be very necessary for Skylar, and that also ABA therapy would be something that they thought was super helpful for her. So I'm like, perfect, this is a win. So I had all my paperwork, and you know, like the morning of the IEP meeting, every other IEP meeting I would wake up and just be like, ugh. I just feel so dreadful of that moment where we had to sit down, and it's like you'd feel your heart race, and it's like you were about to get like convicted of something. I just felt so on trial. Normally you would sit down and just feel so ugh. So this morning in particular, I woke up and it was like my head was high, my shoulders were back. I was ready. I had all my paperwork. We marched into that IEP meeting and I sat down, and it was just like, here I am today, and like, this is what I'm giving you, do something about it. And they kind of went through their like, that they have to say and do, and how, you know, you have so many rights and you have so much, you have such a strong voice to be heard, but you just want to hear what you have to say, and blah blah blah, when really in the back of your head you're like, yeah, whatever, like, no I don't, and no you don't care, and maybe you do, but you certainly do not present it in these meetings. And you know, we go around the table, services start getting taken away, and I'm just like, I felt like my head was on a globe, and I was just like, wait a minute, what? Like, am I in the wrong IEP? It was like a dream. I'm like, am I in the wrong IEP meeting? Like, what is going on? And everything I suggested, everything that I thought was a common goal that we all had for Skylar was just getting shot down, shot down, shot down. Here you have a kid who intellectually is not on any of the goals, meeting them, and you're telling me that, you know, she's ready for kindergarten, we're gonna put her in a regular class and this and that, and I'm like, huh? Just stop everything. I was like, first of all, let me have the floor. And so we started talking. I'm like, you know, and I was sitting right next to Skylar's teacher and my husband, and I'm like, listen, this doesn't sound like anything that we had talked about previously, and the main thing that you had suggested to me was a one-on-one aid, and I have yet to hear that word come out of anybody's mouth at this like 10-person firing squad. She looked at me as these words were coming out of my mouth, and her face was just like I had like 6 heads, and I was over there like doing crazy stuff. And she's like, I never said that. I would have never recommended that. That's not something that we can do. That's not justifiable. There's no reason for her to need a one-on-one aid. She basically told me that having a one-on-one aid would make Skylar regress, because she would have a one-on-one aid there to do things for her. And I'm just like, like, what? So it was a mind-blowing experience, and I had it. I, you know, stood up from the table and I couldn't take it anymore. And at this point, we only had a week left in school. I didn't care what ramifications would come from pulling Skylar out of school. I'd deal with them as they came my way, but I got up and I asked Skylar to be brought up to the office and that we were going home. It was the most, like, heartbreaking in a way moment, but just defeating moment, I guess you could say, as a parent, because we, RC and I struggle so hard to just try and do the best that we can in bringing up our children. It's not the standard way that most people go about raising their children. We have to do things a lot differently on a lot of aspects, and that's okay. We're totally, like, we have the card that was dealt with us and we're rocking it and we're doing it together. But this just felt so defeating. So I pulled Skylar. I must have probably sat in my car, God, for like an hour just crying and crying because I just could not believe that someone that I entrusted with our daughter for almost a year in school could just bold-faced sit there and just lie to me. And to disservice Skylar like that is heartbreaking. And I knew that something needed to change. I knew that I didn't want to sit through another IEP meeting like this. I knew that I wanted to have the control of my children in an academic atmosphere. So I, you know, called again, tried to see where we're at on the waiting list. A couple months went by and we finally got a call. It was like a magical day, to be honest. I don't really have any other words to describe it other than just like shock and awe and excitement, and like it just felt like this, like, boulders of weight had just been lifted off my shoulders, and I just knew that that was where they needed to be. They were accepted into the private school. At this point, it was just like over the moon excitement. I'm not sure if I like screamed or I don't even know what I did on the phone, but it was just like, oh my God. Because if any of you have ever been on a waiting list, honestly for anything, to be the next one in line is really successful. But to need two next people in line, I was like, who's gonna get in? Who's not gonna get in? Are they gonna have room for both? If they don't have room for both, what am I gonna do with the other one? It was just like, I didn't know what I was gonna do, but I didn't care. Just take one, we'll figure out the rest. So to have two spots open and they were able to get both spots was just fantastic. So we'll fast forward life up a little bit to fall of last year. They started at the private school, and meeting their teachers that first, like, back to school night, it was just like, oh my God, it almost felt too good to be true. I just got this like feeling. We left there and I just looked at my husband in the car after that back to school night, and I must have like looked so relieved because I knew it was going to be costing us a lot of money. I knew it was going to be a struggle. It's not like the closest school here. We definitely passed by like 8 other elementary schools on our way over there. It's what needed to happen, and it happened. It's been incredible. The girls have made huge gains in both academic and social. I can't even like begin to quantify how much Olivia has learned this year, because it has far surpassed all the years that she spent in public school. And with Skylar, granted, we do have a lot more behavioral things to work out, but even her, socially and academically, she's taken the hugest strides possible. And the fact that she is potty trained is something that I didn't think we would ever. Words will never be able to express how much I truly love those teachers. The staff there is amazing. It's been amazing. So I'm gonna wrap this up because I just don't even remember all the side streets that we went on when RC and I were talking together. But the biggest side street that we did go on that I really wanted to touch on in this video was just acceptance. And I know that word is probably gonna have a lot of meanings to a lot of different people. But as a mother with special needs kids, the word acceptance was one of the hardest words in my vocabulary. When the girls were born, I didn't want to admit that anything was wrong. I didn't want to admit that anything was different. It was a very big phase of denial for me. RC pretty much rolled the whole time, understanding and knowing and just pushing me to see it. But it was hard. And I will touch on all of that in a different in-depth video. I think we've already kind of gone on long enough on this one. But in a school setting for acceptance, the hardest thing that we have had to overcome was that sense of normalcy. You expect your kid to go to, you know, your zoned school. You expect them to have, you know, kindergarten graduation and muffins with mom and get little awards for perfect attendance and, you know, come home with yearbooks and school pictures and dances and all this stuff and things that we assume and expect to happen in a childhood school setting. Things that we just envision when we have children, what it's going to look like. You suddenly feel yourself getting further and further away from those, and you grasp on to any and all little things to keep you feeling normal, if normal. And again, normal is just not even a word, because what is normal? But what you think is normal in your head. My biggest struggle was that I wasn't going to have that school setting anymore, that PTO mom life that, you know, you hang out in the corridors with the other stay-at-home moms and, you know, you chit-chat. I didn't know what private school would look like. I didn't know what private special education school would look like. I just really wanted my kids to go through everything that I got to go through when I was a kid. And so when we made that decision to pull them, that was my biggest fear, was that they wouldn't experience anything like, you know, RC and I and most of you guys might have experienced in your early education. So it was really hard. Until you get there, you still wonder and question and fear what it's gonna look like. But we're here. And I gotta be the first one to tell you, all those fears and questions seem so silly to me now, because it's like a whole nother school. This is still, it's a different school, but there's still moms there. There's still fundraising events. There's still pictures. There's still field trips. They look different, but they have them. You have that life. You're in an environment with other moms that are going through the exact same thing as you. Maybe not to a T, but they can relate to you a heck of a lot better than some of those moms be on the PTO with at public school. And I want to like make a side street again here to just say that this has like nothing negative against anyone that's in public school, any moms that are in public school, none of that. It's just to simply state my experience and how I felt. You have so much more support. The teachers, they're not there to put your kid to the clinic every day because they don't want to take care of them. The administrative system is not there to just sit there and funnel calls to classrooms and drop Johnny's lunchbox and do this, do that. You walk into that school and it's, hi Skylar, hi Olivia, these big hugs, these big smiles. Everybody knows everybody. Everyone's on the same page. It's so heartwarming. Moral to that rant really was, to any of you moms or dads out there that are maybe struggling with the idea of switching from public school, though it looks different, it's still the same. It's just different. It's like going shopping and getting your groceries from Publix or Walmart or Target or Whole Foods. There's gonna be different aspects. There's different experiences. There's different people, different prices. But in the end, you come home with food and you cook it, right? So, I don't know if that analogy made any sense on everything that we tried to touch on. I'm sure I probably went off into a lot of rants, so I appreciate if you have made it this far.
Alright.
Alrighty, guys. Ooh, is there something?
We're good, guys.
What is that black thing?
We'll see.
Oh, sofa.
The sofa, you couldn't see the sofa?
It looked like there was like a rod sitting right here.
It's called a sofa.
Alright Alright guys, so we're gonna end the vlog here tonight. We've probably shot this ending like 6 times now.
6 just on this memory card. 13 others on the previous ones that we filled up the memory cards.
We're getting a little tired and a little loopy. So.
Yeah, we've gone through 2 batteries and 2 memory cards. If that tells you anything.
Anyway.
So we're gonna wrap this thing up.
We're gonna wrap it up. If you haven't yet, make sure you hit subscribe and get the bell notification so that you're notified each and every time that we upload. And since our comments are probably gonna be disabled, shoot on over to our Instagram, drop us a comment, let us know. And as always, definitely reach out through like not instant messenger. That's such a dating myself really well.
Instant messenger, huh?
Definitely reach out on either our email or on our Instagram through the DMs if you have any more questions that we could maybe answer.
Should they also hit us up in the chat room too? While they're at it?
If you have any questions that we could help you, you know, maybe answer about any of like the stuff that we talked about tonight. So give us a thumbs up if you liked the video, and I will see you in the next vlog. Have a good one.
See ya.